Today I have with me Dr. Gurmeet Soni Bhalla, a pediatrician, a mother, and also a marathon runner who's actually completed marathons on all the 7 continents. As career professionals, there is a life aspect we often miss. We're parents, we are children, and we are sisters and brothers, and there is a responsibility outside of work. Gurmeet's conversation today will dwell into aspects of balancing work and parent life and also making time for yourself, because it's the layers of your personality that you bring out back into your life as well as work. Like always, I hope you enjoy this conversation.
I think that's what is even today. Yeah, we're trying to fit in.
Yeah.
But I think we tried, older generation, we tried to fit in a little later because when you could get out.
Yeah.
But now it starts kind
Very
of
early.
early
Very early.
for children. They
Yeah.
want to fit in. What's the in thing? What's
Yeah.
cool?
Yeah. And
Right?
it starts
Yeah.
very early, like in 6th grade, 5th grade.
Correct. Yeah, you're right about that. And that's when issues start at
Yes,
home.
yes,
Right?
yes.
Yeah, because parents think this is not
Yeah.
cool and you think
Yeah.
that's cool, and that's where the generation
Yes.
gap
Yes.
comes out.
Yes.
Yeah.
It comes out glaringly. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But whatever you might do, every generation's going to go through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is going to be everywhere.
Yeah,
No matter how friendly a parent is going to be,
Yeah.
this generation gap is going to stay. There
Yeah.
is no way to abolish it, I would
Yeah,
say. Right?
yeah.
It's going to present in some other way,
True.
but it's always there.
True. True.
Always there. I feel, because I think as a parent, I've tried my best, being a pediatrician also, because I listen to so many parental woes. You try to remove it, but there is something that is like, not your generation, mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you just have to accept it
Yeah.
and then move on. And
Even subtle things, right? Like the other day I was telling my daughter that her dog has become fat. And she said, "Fat? Really? And you give me lectures about things."
Correct.
And she picked on it, like,
Yeah,
she
body.
went on.
I
You
know.
found my layer fat. Tomorrow, if I put on some fat, you probably will not tell me because now I'm voicing it. But you already have that in your head.
There you
And
go.
I'm like,
Yeah, it's very difficult that way. I mean, though we want our kids to be very self-assured and be confident and things like that, but even these little things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, this happens to me also as
Yeah.
a parent. That if I say, "Oh my God, this one's put on so much of weight,"
Hmm.
or if I did say fat, I think put on weight is still, you get away with it, but
Yeah.
if put on fat is
like,
become a
oh,
taboo.
yeah.
Is like, okay, what is this?
Yeah.
It's like body shaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people do have body image issues. So I guess
Yeah.
youngsters don't want to bring it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
The ones who are more sensitive these days, right?
True.
Yeah. So,
And I've seen at work, I used to have this super boss who had this thing about more nicer to men than the women, right? And
but
then
the boss,
he had
man or a woman?
man.
Okay.
And then he had 2 girls.
Oh.
Okay, and I saw him change. I saw him change from that, person that he was to really being a little more empathetic, really being a little more understanding. And I'm like, what got into him? And then I realized, oh, he's become a parent.
Yeah, and he probably want people to give the same
Yeah.
respect and
To his
empower
kids.
his
Yes.
girls as well, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So that's how, when you are in the field,
Yeah.
that's only when you realize, right?
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
when you're constructing a house, when you put the grills. That's when you're driving everywhere, you start realizing, oh, that grill looks beautiful.
True.
Right?
True.
It's the same thing. You don't realize that till
Yeah,
you
till
hit
it
that
hits-
situation or...
till it hits you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's always the case.
Yeah.
Until your skin is in the game, you don't understand what it means.
True.
Right? To
Yeah.
be nasty or
And you
to be
probably will not be
overbearing
even conscious about it.
it.
Yeah.
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 Yes, I think the society and the culture sometimes throw those norms at you,
Yeah.
and you just keep following,
Yeah.
male dominant or
Yeah.
whichever way,
Yeah.
chauvinistic, like they say,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So do you
Yeah.
have more women coming into your clinic, or are there more, as parents, do both parents come, or how is it?
Yeah, I think when the kids are little, then both parents come.
Like till
Especially
what,
for
like-
kids under 1 year of age.
Okay.
I think both parents come. After that, I think women get the hang of it, and then they bring the child on their own. But either it's either it could be funny thing that they can't handle the kid bawling if we had to vaccinate them, and that's why the both the parents come, and the male counterpart also comes, a father. But or I think it's just that they are too scared. Sometimes women are very scared of the vaccination part of it, so they want the male
needle.
support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, it's been a little twisted in my house. So I had one of the things I went through during delivery is I didn't treat it like a hospitalization or a sickness of sorts. I felt as going through an important life journey. So I
Phase.
insisted that I need to have a wonderful experience as I go through the pregnancy. And so I insisted that my husband cuts the umbilical cord.
Wow.
And I chose the doctor based on whether the doctor
He's
was
gonna allow?
comfortable with that.
Okay.
And did he have or she have enough
Yeah. Okay.
from a mindset perspective to agree to that. So finally I had Prakash Kini as my gynec, and Shamir cut the umbilical cord. And I feel that really made a difference
It did? Okay.
because I saw him transform himself into, it's like Adya has a second mother, right? Like
okay.
everything,
Lovely.
right? From
Yeah.
giving her a shower to food to waking up in the middle of the night.
How sweet.
Everything.
Ah.
Everything.
Nice.
And for
Very
us,
nice.
I was telling Akash in the afternoon that I think we started traveling with her when she was 6 months old. And she travels with us everywhere.
Everywhere.
And it's incomplete for us without her
Yeah.
to go anywhere.
Yeah. So he's like literally like all the time around her and doing little things for
the
her.
world revolves
Wonderful.
around. Yeah.
Yes, that's so lovely and very inclusive.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that fathers.
Yes.
But I see that a lot of fathers are very inclusive these days.
Right?
Very, very inclusive
Yeah,
these days.
yeah.
Yeah.
They make a conscious effort, I
effort to
think,
do it.
right?
Yeah, they do make a conscious. But I'm not too sure if that's true of those top of the game kind of fathers also, right? Because then they say we have to do this and you have to. Then the roles are very well demarcated.
Yeah.
The women take care of the house and the father takes care of outside. So it's not everywhere, but yeah, I do see a change, and I think they're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Enjoy doing it. Earlier, it was also again same taboo, looked down upon. What is this? You sitting at home managing the child or giving birth to the child? It's not like that anymore, and I think that's a very positive, very very positive change that has come. Yeah.
Some of my friends then say, "Oh, you're just too lucky." I'm like, no.
Well, this paternity leave now.
It's
Come to
not
think of
luck.
that,
It's
right?
like,
Yeah, no,
when
that's
both
true.
of you are working, you need to balance it
You
out.
have to balance it, and I'm so glad to hear that you found that, because people still do struggle. I mean, women take a lot much more on themselves.
True.
So much more, and then they get, all kind of issues, mental and their own self, their empowerment goes away, because somewhere down the line they also feel that until and unless they do not and they're not even breadwinner, but if they're not working, it's so important to have that self-confidence, and when they're not working they don't have that. And even in today's day and age, I see that really accomplished women, they leave their jobs to take care of the baby, which is very sad. Which is really, really sad that they have to give up for something that they studied their whole life. First, they went into the schools and universities and then get married. And at the minute they have a child, everything is on a back burner. It's just very unfair. Right?
Very.
It's really unfair. But we still see it. But I think somewhere this pandemic has changed
I was
quite
going to
a
ask you that.
yeah,
Did you
a lot
see a
to that.
change during the
Yeah.
pandemic with your patients and, probably changes in, like, men and women sort of?
So I saw that first of all, lot of couples didn't want to have kids, had kids.
Ah,
Oh, you could call it proximity, but that's different. But I think they also saw that there was a possibility to work sitting at home.
yeah.
Yeah. So because they could work from home, the woman could hold her job and the man could hold his job. And they decided whichever way it's going to go, whether a year or 2 years, they'll be able to raise the little baby to a certain, level. And then, so I see now more so that the pandemic changed a whole bunch of things. So women were working and having kids and were very happy with it. So that was the change that we saw. But, it's not always very hunky-dory and rosy. Some of the women had to go through a really, really tough time because they not only managed work, they managed the kids who were at home,
Yeah.
right? And the grandparents
Parents.
and husband.
Yeah.
So she does everything. She
Yeah.
doesn't even get the little break that she gets when she steps out and meets her colleagues or friends. There's no breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
So I think it's both ways.
Yeah.
It just has affected a lot of women, and they've gotten overworked being at home. Women have been really overworked while the pandemic.
Through the pandemic, yeah.
But the young ones also did take a decision to have kids because they realized they could raise them without having to step out of the house and without having to invest in nannies or having to take a break from work. So it's worked both ways, actually.
And one thought I always had when I decided and I reached out to you to actually have this conversation was, I think you see your patients from the day they were born all the way to 18.
That's right.
And so you're actually seeing a child's journey, and this is not one child, this is like, quite a lot of children.
True.
And plus you're seeing the family dynamics as well, because, when we go to Sandeep, he knows us so well, he knows Adya, he can just, she's so comfortable to say, hey, now I have these issues, now you tell me what to do, kind of thing. So I'm thinking you've gone through that journey. Have you seen patterns around parenting, around children growing in the last years or decades?
Yeah, so patterns in the sense that one that we already mentioned, that men have become a little bit more inclusive. So I see that. The other pattern that it's not necessarily has to be positive though, right? Another pattern that I really see is that disciplining issues, a whole bunch of that. And I feel when women are working, they feel that they are not present, especially before the pandemic hit. They were not present in the child's life for maybe 6 to 8 hours, and then there is overindulgence. As a result, what does happen is they forget about the discipline part of it. So when I say discipline, I mean, as a child, every child needs to have certain boundaries. Every age has to have certain boundaries. So those boundaries spill over. For example, a small example is that a woman comes home and brings a candy as a treat. Well, I mean, it's just to show that this is a treat, which is that the candy is actually not the best thing for the child, right?
Yeah.
So that's a pattern. That the pattern, even in grandparents, is similar. Indulgence is in the form of food, and it's not always good food. And then these make really bad behaviors. Children get to have eating behaviors. I have huge issues with kids who have eating behaviors, especially the ones between 1 and 5 years of age.
Oh, that young.
That young, because I think there's a certain bit of indulgence, and the parents expect them to eat in a certain fashion, and then they push certain way, and then the treats are taking them to maybe McDonald's or KFC's. Those are the treats. So all the healthy food that they're being. So very early on in life, A treat is going to have a pizza, or a treat is having a burger or candy or donuts. That's considered a treat. So you're actually putting in really wrong behaviors and set rules very early in life, because that becomes a treat. So how do you expect your child to eat healthy? And I'm a big proponent of eating healthy, because I feel that it starts there. I mean, a lot of the parents come and tell me that, oh, my child is very young. So what, little meetha, so what, sugar, they should have it at this age, which is candies and ice creams or donuts or whatever their pattern of having sugar is. But they do not understand that it starts as young as that, right? You're bombarding a little child's body with this kind of a insignificant, useless nutrient, which is going to play no role, but just going to give a sugar spike
And a
and have
habit.
temper tantrums and a habit, which is so hard to break. So most of the diseases start setting in when they are very young. Right?
And,
so
and
that's
do you see that as a pattern as they grow then?
All the time. So my biggest counseling is, please don't consider food as a way of loving. Sometimes not giving food is a better way of loving, because you're doing more good to that child, You're putting in healthy habits. So when I actually I do spend a lot of time on nutrition, especially with parents, because I feel that this is where it all starts. So when I actually sit down and say, what have you eaten from morning to evening? So everything is there. So, whereas ghee rice, there is idli and sugar, there is, of course, there'll be parathas, but I do see two things very starkly missing. One is vegetables and one is fruits. And then everybody complains that my kid doesn't eat vegetables. But you've never made an attempt, right from word go, right? So it all starts very, very early. So those patterns definitely set in. And then when they go into their preteens and teenagers, then I get another set of complaints from parents like, these guys don't eat any vegetables, these guys don't eat any. I'm like, well, what did you do when you were young? Or when they were younger? How hard did you work on setting those rules in place, or setting a healthy patterns? You have to do that. So I feel that once you decide to become a parent, you have to have a very, very have to make a very conscious effort. That it's not like a fad. It's not like I'm acquiring a car or something. It's a big commitment. And a couple who's ready to become a parent should realize that, and it should not be for anybody else. It should be for them. They should think about it, because they are going to bring another individual, and whatever value systems or whatever habits or whatever patterns they're going to put in place, it's a very powerful role of a parent, right? And that continues for a very long time, and that also affects a child when that child grows up, right? Whether it is a teenager or a young adolescent. So it really affects them. So parents' role is very big. It's it's also it's not an easy role though. It's a lot of responsibility. I feel there's a role, and so that's why young couples should make it a very conscious decision to become a parent when they decide so. Because a lot goes into it. It's not like getting married, actually, even though that's a big change, but you still meet the person, but you don't know what this new individual is going to bring into your life, right? And then I see a lot of times lives turning upside down just because the kid is born, because the father wants the child to be raised in a certain way and the mother wants the child to be raised in a certain way. So a lot of discords. Can you believe it? A child brings a couple together, but a child can also, not for any fault of the child, but it's our own expectations, the couple's expectations, they also got driven apart because they're not able to raise the kid. So it starts from, in fact, a friend of mine and I were thinking that maybe we should do counseling sessions for young couples who are wanting to get married, and just let them have a little feel of what's in store, so that they go into it more consciously, more mindfully, that what's in store for a newbie and how much expectations each parent should have, or what values they should talk. Most people don't talk about what values they want to give to their kids.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
No, I think this. So we had our daughter after 7 years of marriage, and one of the conscious decisions was like, we'll only bring another human into this world when we are
Ready.
very ready for it.
Wow.
And that took a while. It took 7 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're doing all the right things. Look at that.
But I can totally relate with that. Another thing I saw was like, when you're pregnant, the whole world is showering such great things on you, like, good food, lots of love, they're taking care of you, everything. And then the child is born, and then the mother is like...
attention goes to the...
You feel like a cow.
Yeah, I know, but the attention goes to the
Completely.
baby.
Yes.
You feel like a cow. You are a cow because basically you're lactating and feeding, but yeah, the whole attention
Everything is on the
shifts.
yes.
So from a woman who just got married, who had a lot of attention from the husband and then a lot of attention from the family when she was pregnant, and suddenly she's like complete... That's why I think... Though postpartum depression is a known medical entity,
Right.
but environment also plays a huge role in that. Yeah, because this person is going to be so depressed, and all she's fed on is like really boiled food and
No salt.
certain things to be eaten, certain not to be eaten. She's sleep deprived.
Yes.
I think one of the biggest things that hits a woman when she has a baby is sleep deprivation, even for the couple if they're in it together. Yeah. So I tell them sleep as much as you can before you deliver, because you're going to be sleep deprived for definitely 1 year, if not more.
Yeah. Mine
So it's
was a colicky baby as well. So, oh God.
Yeah. So it's you have to have that that heart to go through it. Yeah. So and then you just get start wallowing in that physical state that you're in, and then all you have to do is feed and eat and sleep, and you gain more weight. So it just become a cycle.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's a hard time. I feel that women go through a hard time in a lot of phases in lives, starting from puberty to getting married to pregnancy, then kids growing up, but bodily change again, then
A lot.
menopause.
Yes.
Right? So there are a lot of hormonal changes. It's not hormonal and emotional,
Yes.
because they're
Interlocked.
they're intertwined, right?
Yeah.
So
And what I also found is when you're going through all this and you're going back to work, it's a different ball game.
yeah.
So when your patients come in, and do you have a lot of working women, and
I do.
Is there a...
Most women these days
Right.
are pretty much working.
So how has it changed, or do you see things changing? Do you hear from them on
No,
some of the
the
experiences?
good part, of course, is that they've become very well aware. They're very mindful, and they're managing their lives very well, whether it's work or the children. I do still feel that there is a bit of an overindulgence. They feel guilty, even though now they feel very guilty for being not around a child. And I always say that please don't make a child a crutch, that you're not able to work. You should be proud of the fact that you can work as well as take care of the child. I mean, you don't have, and sometimes when you're 24/7 to a child, you probably don't give the quality care that the child deserves, because it's just around. So, and when you are a working mother, you carve the time, you do what you have to do, and it doesn't take too much. If you have great help, and all you need to give is, I just say, 1 quality hour of a day. That's all you need to give your child to have your bond going, to be able to inculcate whatever you want to set out in formative years, even in older age groups. That's when that a little chat, communication, keeping the channels open, all can happen in about an hour or so's time.
Yeah.
But do that. Yeah. Give that hour.
Going back to what you said of an idea that you and your friend were working on, I think this kind of counseling is not just required for people who are going to get married, but also in organizations.
Yeah.
Because when you go back after a delivery, or whether it's a mother or a father, you're sleep deprived, you're going through so much at home, and plus there's so much
pressures
at work, right? And as peers, how are you sort of
Correct.
making it easy for them? As an organization, how are you making it easy for them?
But luckily, I think the corporates have been doing a great job, right? With all the big corporates that I've seen, most of them have creches now, right? So, and then they have play schools, so the young kids can definitely stay where the mother is. Yeah, so that's a huge change. I'm very, very impressed with that, and I've seen all major corporates adopting that, so that the woman is able to work. She's not taking a sick leave, or she's not taking a leave of absence because the nanny didn't show up, or you didn't have house help. So that kind of gradation or transition that they have made for the woman to be able to come back to work, so which is very good. Which is amazing. Yeah.
I think those are the physical, things you're addressing, right, Gurmeet? This is more like about the mind. This is more about, considering someone's going through so much at home because you're a new parent. There are books there you take advice from everybody, but you're figuring out gradually, day after day, on things. Right? About everything, food, sleeping habits, everything, building a support system, what works, what does not work, everything. And when you're going through so much on the home front and then you're going to work, it's the mind as well, right? Like it's how are you making that person feel comfortable
in that
space,
environment,
right?
yes. But I think, like I said, it's never been a better time than now.
Absolutely.
It's been an awesome time. In fact, I would say, if I could push 10 years of my life and say I should have, worked around today's age. My kids, of course, grew up, and it was quite a struggle to get constant help because I didn't have a mother. She passed away pretty early. I didn't have a mother-in-law. So we didn't have a family support, but it's a wonderful time for an Indian woman to be in a setup like this, where there are a lot of support systems. We are always figuring out, whether whichever stage you are in, whether it's a young mother or whether it is a mother who's dealing with an adolescent with this problem. So I think it's an ever evolving journey of a parent, because every stage is different of a child and your stage is different too. So that we have to take in our stride, I guess. But there are a lot of support groups now. I'm sure you are aware of the fact that there are blogs, not online. There are also, what do you call them? Parent support groups like Baby Berry and Mother's World. They're actual support groups, but they're just, most of the advice sometimes is not validated, and it's through I've read those because and then through the hat, but it is there. Like my child is even for colic. Like, my child is colicky, what do I do? There'll be 10 mothers who's telling you what do you do. So I think the internet has brought world so together.
Closer.
You find solutions, but it's not just the Google telling you, but these support groups tell you,
Like a community.
Yes, so they have a little community of young parents who give you that. I think it's a great support system. You don't really have to figure out you don't have to figure out which shampoo to use on your child. And
But do you see more men in that?
no, I don't see more men in that. But then that has not completely changed, right? Yeah, it has shifted a little bit, but let's be fair. I mean, still the onus to raise a child, or the working of a child, especially the physical part, is taken care by the mother. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to slowly get into the parenting aspect, right? Since it's a new space, especially the first child. I think the second child, it's like, okay, we've been there, we're not going to do that. We keep it simple this time. So
You're
we
right about
figure
that.
out, right?
You're right about that,
But the
yeah.
first one is like, you're figuring out everything.
You want that person to be the Einstein and the Nadal of the world. You want your child to be everything,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or the best.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the kind of expectation a parent has from the first child.
Yeah.
But I do say that it's nice to have two kids, because then you kind of figure out. You also learn.
Yeah.
And you also learn that no two kids are the same,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm not endorsing having two kids though, but you see how it is. You are less stressed. You're less FOMO'd.
Yeah.
Yeah, most parents of firstborn kids have a FOMO. They think that they have to do everything, including me. I had it too.
Yeah.
I sent my son to a school called Jimbaroo for motor development when he was 10 months old. Can you believe it? Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. But for my daughter, she of course did go much later, because I was a smarter parent and I realized that it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we all learn experiences.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yes.
do have our own experiences, and the second time around, you're experienced enough to very intuitive,
Yeah.
because what has worked, what has not worked.
Yeah.
God forbid something else happens and you have some other choices to make, that's different. But yeah, you are very intuitive when the second child is born.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, I missed the thread.
We were just starting on the parenting thing
yeah.
of, how you, as a first child, you're experimenting.
Yeah.
But the second
Always.
one is like you're discovering.
You actually, like I said, more intuitive.
Yes.
It becomes very intuitive.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And most second kids, second borns are also actually get smarter, because they got a lot of stimulants.
Correct.
From the first one.
Yeah.
Even though the parents give a lot of stimulus to the firstborn, but with the second child, what does happen is the young one, the older sibling, is an amazing stimulus.
Yes.
So they do a lot of work. Though people talk about sibling rivalry, I think it should actually work in favor, because the younger one learns a lot. Plus, you can also teach the older one to start, those compassion and empathy and ownership and the family values. There's so much that young child can learn by having another sibling
Yeah.
in the family. So it can work both ways. I would say that, again, the parents have to write that script, that how they are going to play this out.
Yeah.
For that, you have to give time.
Yeah.
For that, you can't be on the move all the time. We can't be like coming home, like getting done with your chores and I'm tired, and saying you have to carve time. That's why we were talking about some sessions, counseling sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility. It's a huge responsibility.
It's huge. I mean, it's a beautiful responsibility. You would want to have
Yeah.
that. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like, oh my God, it's some burden on your shoulders. But yes, at the same time, you made a conscious decision, and to raise a child very responsibly, you will have to put in a little bit more effort that
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
and not be an in absentia parent.
Yeah.
I totally believe that.
Planning as well,
Yeah.
right? So you talked about support system as well. It's also about building that support system. If you don't have it amongst parents and in-laws, then you need to figure out that support system.
Yeah.
So you're able to balance the life to this new world that you're venturing into as well, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And do you see that happening now
Yes.
with your
I do.
client base?
I do. Again, I think Bangalore's got a lot of good things happening. I think our environment is very conducive for young parents. I think that because a lot of young couples who've moved from different parts of the country, being it the Silicon Valley and stuff like that, they fall back upon each other for support. Yeah, they help each other, because everybody knows that, okay, someone's come from somewhere, and so they're willing to open their homes and their hearts and the support system. So I think, again, I feel Bangalore is in a very, very good space as far as these communities are concerned. As far as young parents are concerned. It's beautiful. I'm sure you've seen, I've seen a lot of my patients who are basically have a moving population, and they have a thing of going, they have a flexibility of moving back to the West, but they come here, have kids, raise them to a certain level, maybe age 5, and then move back. Because the support system is amazing, whether it is help that way or the community. It's not even the Indians. I see the white population also doing that.
Oh,
they come
really?
here, they have kids, they raise them till a certain age, and then they go back because it's so wonderful. You have help. You don't have to do everything yourself. Right?
Yeah.
And then you have a community help too.
Yeah.
And then most of us are living in gated communities. So if you don't have anything, your neighbor is willing to help you. Neighbor is willing to take your child out to the park, right? So it's this lovely that way.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. And do you? I'm thinking you're also seeing the child as they are growing. Do you see both parents involved, and how that really impacts the psychology of a child as the child is growing? Or what are some things you're seeing in the kids as they are growing? Because you see them from ground zero to...
So I think parents are very enthusiastic the first few formative years, and once they start going to school and the grade 1, grade 2 happens, something fades off, and then everything just kind of settles down. But I do see parents being more communicative, which is the need of the hour. Yeah, I see them more open towards whatever the child has to say. It's not, like they say, it's not very authoritarian parenting. Okay, there's a bit of permissibility where you let the child speak, and you're willing to take that step to sit with them, or maybe even take them for football classes, or art classes and things like that. So the parents are getting involved, and that keeps the communication channels open. At the end of the day, whether you are 1-year-old or where you're 18-year-old, where your child is 1-year-old, 18-year-old, the only thing I feel the steady thing that you can do is keep the channels of communication open at all times. And then I don't think you'll ever fail or underperform as a parent. That's what I've seen. And that's what I always tell the parents to do that. But what does become hard for them is that they have come from a certain background or cultural zone. They can't take it. They just can't take a child answering back. Okay, but you have to go down to see, why did the child answer back? Was there a pent-up emotion? Was a feeling? You can't just say that, oh my God, is this the way I raised you? You can't be offensive, right? So if you become like that, then it becomes an ego battle. And then when it becomes an ego battle, you close the channels of communication. So even if things do happen when it's a young child or an older child, you just have to say, you could be a little firm, and then you could go back and say, let's sit down and talk about it. I didn't like. And I tell that to parents who have kids as young as 2, when then you see kids hitting the parent, right? They just, I don't know, either they see it or whichever way, to say that, you can always tell the child, I didn't like it, let's not do it, and then give a hug and move on. An older child, I didn't like the way you raised your voice. Next time you have a pent-up emotion, you tell me about it and we talk about it, and then let's be civil to each other. It's just that when everybody's tempers are flying all over the place, and then it becomes like, so for me, in my experience, I've seen if you did keep your channels of communication open with the child, you would not underperform as a parent.
But things change during teenage years, is it?
Even then.
Yeah?
Even then. Yeah. You'd be surprised.
Sorry.
Yeah. You'd be surprised. Well, I mean, what does a child want? Wants a validation from the parent. And that's what the child doesn't get. Because I don't think you are appropriately dressed, says the parent, right? And the child feels that I'm fine, right? Who are you to decide? This is not, this is my friends. I want to do that. And the parent takes an offense to that. and then we escalate. I'm saying a smaller thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to substance abuse and stuff like that yet. But even then, I think you can work around it. It's very sad when sometimes parents find that their kids have gone towards substance abuse, and they discover it very much later in life. They're, where it's become a habit, because something went missing. There was a link which went missing. So it's doable, and it can be done very, very gracefully. It's just that we have to stop thinking that we own our kids. Okay? Though I don't want to sound like Khalil Gibran, but we really don't own our kids. We should do as much as we can, and give them the great value systems that we think we can in our capacity. And then you have to give them wings to fly. The wings that you actually nurtured, right? You cultivated them, and then when it comes them to fly, you start clipping them, because you can't do it. It doesn't go down very well with me, my sensibilities. So I believe that, and I think that's when you would actually respect a child as an individual, and then you will have lesser problems.
And do you see changes in a child growing up as a girl versus a boy?
Both.
They both go through.
Yeah.
Is communication
Intense.
common for both boys as well as
communication
girls?
with parents?
Yeah.
I think girls are more communicative than boys. I think boys somewhere like to confide in their own peer group. They don't like to confide in their parents. Very few cases that I see that who would want to say everything what they're going through to their parents, but there is a thing where they only stick with their peers. So it's very important in those years, which is, let's say, maybe 14 to 18, that a male child should have a stability. Well, a stability at home and also stability at school. I've also realized if they move from one city to another, it rocks their boat, because there is a certain bit peer group support that boys look for, and then that gets shaken, and it just takes them time to get back into the groove. They take time, which I feel, and I don't know if it's a male thing or not, but yes, boys are not very open about their emotions and the feelings to their parents when they're growing up. But girls are.
Okay.
Girls are. I think that's also, I don't know if it's the X chromosome, because we've got one extra arm. So and then women are more communicative, talkative. That's why girl child talks earlier than a boy child. There's a science behind it. Because we have an extra X arm. So that's, but I see that. And it's very, so you have to provide that stability. You have to provide that consistency as a parent, is what I feel.
And do you see any common trend around the kind of issues that come in the early years versus in the preteen versus the teen, irrespective of it's a boy versus a girl?
So I think preteens, rather everyone wants to be popular. I think for both boys and girls, they both want to be popular, and they work towards that. And they're very, in fact, preteens is a stage where a lot of things are changing. You see a lot of change in the personality. Suddenly, somebody who's very gregarious and open and vociferous will start getting very subdued. And I would say hormones are responsible for that. Again, boys get much more submissive or quieter or not introspective. That's would be the wrong choice, but a little bit more, I would say, quieter, and not opening up vis-a-vis girls are concerned. But the girls, I think, once they're in their teens, they like to be popular, very, very popular. Yeah, they like to mingle, make friends. Body image comes in, want to look good and things like that. Boys tend to tone down till about 17, 18, till they've actually gotten taller and, look nicely built. Before that, between the 13 and to the 17, 18, they're more gawky, lanky, quieter,
Yeah.
hiding. I think they're also probably discovering their personalities. They're figuring out what they like, what they don't like. So I would say, more girls are more outgoing in that age group than boys. But then, like I said, you can't have a sweeping statement.
Generalized
But
one.
we can't. Some are different too. But this is more or less how I've seen kids growing up.
And are there fundamentals to parenting in the early in these age groups that you have seen?
As in the teens. Are you
Yeah,
talking about the teens
yeah,
and the preteens?
Yeah.
Once you have your bases, which are okay, that you have already put in place as a parent, which means that you are spending time, which is the most important part. And I'm not saying huge amount of time, but at least carved an hour or so every single day. Have taken vacations with your kids and as a family, often, twice a year perhaps. Again, that makes your bond grow, right? So you have a little like a platform to start with. And the fundamentals, for me, there's only one fundamental thing, which is communication. I don't think there's anything else that you can do that's going to change things. No amount of pampering, no amount of giving them toys to play with, which is basically tech toys these days. No amount of taking them out to eat out and stuff like that. None of those pampering would work if you did not have that channels of communication open.
Yeah.
Because no matter what you do, our human body is very, very, very dynamic. The kind of emotions and the kind of hormonal changes that the child goes through, you have to have that little conduit open. If you didn't, then you get into trouble. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of this, like, most of the time our tongue gets us into trouble, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's for eating or whether it's talking, it's what's get us into trouble. So it happens between a parent and a child too. So you should be willing to forgive and then build that bridge, and then you'd be surprised, it grows so beautifully after that.
Yeah, and probably also think of other perspectives,
Yeah.
right? Because the child probably
Yeah.
is not coming from the worst case scenario.
Totally.
You probably have to understand where they're coming from before reacting.
A lot of people ask me terrible teens, but honestly, touch wood, I mean, I don't think I had terrible teens with both my kids, and a male and a female, right? And I think I've made, because I guess I had an advantage,
Yeah.
being there and seeing people and learning from them, because we also learn. I made sure that I kept that open, and I am very, very happy to own the fact that, and tell them that I think I did make a mistake. I mean, there are mistakes that I did make, big ones like moving schools for my son when he was not wanting to do it, but I thought would do him better. Big mistake it was, but I own it today. Yeah. And I tell that's why I tell parents that it's very important to give kids in teenage consistency, especially a boy child. You have to give them consistency and stability and not rock the boat too much.
I want to slowly take you through your career journey now. You've been a doctor, you're a mother, you're a runner, you're also an allergy expert. You also consult for healthcare companies. That's a lot you've got in your kitty going on. And I think balancing all of that would be quite something. But before I get to that, I wanted to start off with when you start your medical journey, you have the option of either going to a larger hospital and associating with them to gain experience, or sort of, starting on your own. And you chose to start on your own. How did that work out?
True. I think it was a conscious decision.
Yeah? Like
yeah.
you knew from the beginning that...
I didn't really know from the beginning, but like I was also a new parent. So when I started actually working as a pediatrician, I had my son at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, and I knew how hard it was for me to go back to work. First, I took off for a few months, and like I always say that it depresses a woman who's worked so hard and then having to not being able to work and then just be around a little baby. No, you're not doing anything which is lesser, but it doesn't fulfill you completely. You're not complete if you did not do what you have trained yourself to do. So I did tend to realize that if I joined one of the bigger hospitals, my work time commitments would be longer. Yeah, I probably would have gotten myself more visible, or let's say I could have improved my brand value if I had gone to a corporate hospital or a bigger setup. But that choice I had made, that I'm not going to be wanting to spend very long hours, which are not flexible enough for me, so that I'm not able to take care of my child. So I did take this approach. And then between the two kids, I have 2 years. So by the time the other one was literally talking, the second one was on its way. So it worked out very, very well for me, because I set up my own practice and I did how much ever I could do, but I did do my work. I don't think after my second one was born, I took off for too long for maternity leave, maybe 2 months, and I've been working ever since then. I don't work very long hours, like 12 hours a day or 16 hours a day, like most doctors would work if you were in a bigger setup. But I did work 8 hours at one point of time, and I reduced it afterwards. But it gave me the flexibility to be a mom, to have to go back home to put my kids to bed. That was very important, because when my practice actually took off, I was only coming home at 9 o'clock in the night, and I would see my kids sleep. And I think that's the time that it occurred to me that either I just get known for, Dr. Gurmeet Soni Bhalla, the most popular pediatrician and stuff like that, or I actually spend time with them. So that means cutting back on hours. So I think I made this decision when they were 8 or 10, that I'm not going to be working after 5 o'clock in the evening. And that's how the mother and the doctor fit in. But I've also had a very, very I've always felt that you only evolve when you learn, right? So learning's always been a part of my not only professional journey, but in general as an individual. So after medicine, I was very interested in allergy. So I went and did a fellowship there, and so I trained myself to do that. I'm very interested in health and nutrition. So I do a whole bunch of courses, and I went and did a health coach program, what do you call it, a degree course for that as well.
It's in person or
no,
more online?
It's online.
Okay.
Yeah, that happens. A lot happens when you're sitting at home, right? Yeah. So because I wanted to learn how nutrition actually changes everything about you. It's since I sit in a disease disease arena,
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about prevention of diseases, and food plays a huge role in prevention there. So I'd rather start with prevention than actually
Addressing the
addressing.
symptoms.
Yeah. I mean, I would want to treat sick patients whenever they are, but I think we intend to empower a lot more people if we teach them how to take care of themselves. And a big piece is the nutrition, and it's not just the physical part, it's also the mental. So it's a physical and mental emotional well-being that's very important to prevent a disease. And then running is something I think just happened to me by chance, because I lost my mom very early, like I mentioned before, and she died of a heart disease, and we do have not very fantastic genes in the family. So I wanted to be fit and not want to, go that path where I was diabetic or had a heart disease and stuff like that. So it was just to keep myself fit, but I think it just took me it gave me another dimension to my personality, and it gave me so much more. So so for it started from 10Ks to marathons and ultra marathons all happened. It was a really it's been a fantastic journey as a runner, and it's taught me a lot of things, how human body is so resilient, and how at the bottom you're just humans, and there's no caste, creed. You have running has no boundaries, right? So so that's how it gives you another dimension, and keeps you fit.
So fundamentally, I think as Gurmeet by nature, if I've got this right, is I really like this bit about how you planned the early years in such a way that you have time for the kids, but at the same time, you still got your footholding on your profession.
Yeah.
And then you expanded your knowledge base in this period to actually, whenever you're ready, you're more holistic in your approach when you're actually talking to your patients, as well as the larger base in terms of how to be healthy. And that sort of really becomes a good foundation to go back into a mainstream as your kids are more settling in, and helps you then take on more responsibilities. Did I?
Yeah, I think though I didn't envision it like that when it all started, but I think while I was at it, it felt right. And I feel that we shouldn't fit in, right? We should not. I was a reasonably good doctor. I am a reasonably good doctor and a reasonably good student, for that matter. But I somewhere had to take a back seat. That's a choice I had to make. Like, if I have to run it this way, so you tailor it, right? You have to be smart enough. You tailor your life around it. That's exactly what I did. And like I said, you should make that choice of having kids when you're ready. And this is the choice I had taken. And if I did not give enough time to them, then I don't think I was doing the right thing. And now at this stage, yes, I think I'm raring to go.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go in the sense I would rather do preventive disease. I would rather empower people. I would rather send out positive messages to young couples on parenting. So I would like to do things like that, which go further beyond just four walls, and benefits and have a bigger impact. I think I would love to do that.
And this is a great career advice as well, isn't it, Gurmeet? Because oftentimes that's the age group that women sort of drop out of your professional career. And then it's very difficult once you've taken that break to really come back. And it's also an internal struggle. It's difficult. One, probably organizations are doing a lot more to take them back, but it's difficult for the woman to go back, because it's a lot of things you have to deal with around, oh, I've lost 3 years or 4 years of my...
Your self-esteem kind of goes down too. I do. I know that. I have a lot of doctors who've done that, and then just to come back into the mainstream. The good thing about doctors is that, there's always need in our country, right? So we will always be able to give that much to the society, but it does take time. It does take, and the hours are long, and you're dealing with another life. So you're also mentally very, very, what do you call it? Stressed that way. It's not just. It's just not a project. It's a life. So you tend to bring work home that way. So so it is hard that way for somebody to go back to work. But then, like, you make choices, right? So if I were not going to a hospital, then that means I was doing cold pediatrics. That means I was not looking at emergencies. But I was still valuable as a professional to another sect.
Yeah.
Of and which didn't require me to be on calls. In the beginning of my career, I would go for deliveries. Pediatricians go for deliveries, and it would happen at 2:00 in the night and 3:00 anytime in the night. And then there were times that it would be very hard for me to drive on my own. So if my husband had to come, we have a little baby. So I don't think it made sense. So that was the time you decide, hey, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Yeah.
So so you just like I said, you tailor your work profession around it, and I think I just was able to do that.
So I think what is also important there is to see, to your earlier point, what is readiness. To have a child is not just about, oh, I have to bring a child and this is the upbringing, this is the value system, etc. that we're agreeing on. But also in terms of, as a parent, as a couple, how do you sort of maintain the balance? How do you plan this in such a way that you're not sort of...
I was lucky because I'm in this profession also. So a lot of knowledge and a lot of reading goes to it, and I meet a lot of people. So I was lucky there. But yes, readiness is very important. And I would again say that a couple should be ready to take on the role of a parent. Then only it is worth taking that journey, right? Then it's beautiful.
True.
There are no two ways about it.
True.
Right? There was a point I said I wanted to have more kids and that kind of thing, but I very quickly stepped back because it's not it's not just your body.
Yeah.
It's also your mental thing.
Yeah.
And I had decided that I'm not gonna let the body part go, because I was aware of my genes, so I had to stay healthy. And then the emotional thing where you had to have help and stuff like that. And then you also have to learn how to be fulfilled with what you have, by not being the best. You still have to feel like you said, you're enough.
Yeah.
You have to feel you're enough. You're doing a very good job of whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In whichever way you're doing.
Yeah.
And not try hard to fit in, like you said in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's not just the children, even it's for the adults. We're not trying hard to fit in. Yeah, because you've got to find your balance. And I think I was lucky enough to find my balance.
What I'm also realizing is, oftentimes when we go through this phase in our life, it's also a career you're balancing against. And so you'll be like, oh, I'm going to lose 2 years, 3 years, and things like that. I don't know if that comes in as much in a woman's mind, but then it's, when you go back, it's always there. I lost 3 years. But then what we're also talking about is, during this period, learning new skills, balancing it out, helps, and being patient has a bigger impact in the long run, because you then went through this whole thing of taking up allergy, going into the deeper into the allergy space, and then the nutrition and health part. Now it's much more holistic in nature, and
absolutely.
it really pays off when it might not have its fruits in the year 1, year 2, but eventually it does pay off. So the patience really helps.
This is an era of instant gratification,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
that's why people, I guess people want instant results.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the Maggie.
It's that effect. And also the kind of feel that is, right? With technology, in 10 years, one thing is obsolete.
Changed, yes.
So they want immediate returns and things like that. But like I said, there is no such thing as a waste of time if you waited for 3 years. And if you took break for 3 years, you've actually given maybe more time to your family and your child. It's just a little blip. It's like pandemic. Life will move on. What did the 2 years do? Yes, we did get a setback, but it's a tiny little blip in the larger scheme of things.
Yeah.
So I think people shouldn't value that I lost 3 years or 2 years. What's important is now. Right now is what's important, what you can do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What's the point of looking at the past?
Yeah.
What's what you can do right now?
True.
Right?
So true. So true. And it's living in the moment, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Holistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Living in the moment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And were you surrounded by the right set of people during this period to give you the advice? Here's where I'm going. Why nutrition? Why not maybe some other space? Did you sort of see these three coming together and see yourself really bringing in a bigger value prop at a later stage? Or it was just like, there is this course, I want to try, give it a shot. How did that happen?
No, I think I didn't realize it, but these little things kind of are within you in very formative years. Okay, we don't think too deep. I was just thinking about this. When I was a little kid, there was an English newspaper called Tribune which came to our house every day. And there would be a section on what plants could heal some, like aloe vera can heal skin issues, or eating aloe vera helps you with your gut issues, and
It does?
Yeah.
It does?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. So every day there was a botanical column which had medicinal values of something or the other and what to eat and stuff like that. I didn't realize that. I would cut it out and then put it in my scrapbook and had a huge thing. And I didn't realize that. I thought maybe I was interested in medicine, and that's what I was doing. But this was not really medicine. This was actually how natural food, plants and fruits can actually help you. So I guess, I don't know, maybe it was somewhere really deeper into my psyche, even when I was growing up. And that's why nutrition came to me. But it also came to me because of my family genetics, right? Because I've lost my mom, I've lost my uncles, I've lost a whole bunch of people to lifestyle diseases more so. So nutrition was very important because it happened so closer at home. So I think these two put together, and I also saw as a doctor, when I would prescribe medication, that they would eventually come back to me. If they didn't come after 3 months, they were back after 6 months or a year with similar issues, whether it's sneezing or asthma and things like that. And I would put them on medication, they would come back again. And I had to find a fix. So I started delving deeper into it as to what is wrong, right? What is it that is missing? What was the missing piece? And the missing piece is we don't educate the patients enough because maybe we don't have time. That is one. We don't educate them about their environment. We don't educate them about their nutrition. So that's the missing piece. So what does the patient do? It pops your pills, it takes their inhaler, moves on for 3 months, happens. Okay, then they jump from one doctor to another. But you could actually stop that if you put this nutrition piece and the preventive piece and the medicine. And I think I'm in such a beautiful space that it's not only education. I can actually treat them with medication, and I can teach them how to prevent it.
Yeah.
So I truly feel blessed, and I think I would want to use this space to educate more people, not only to get over the diseases, but to prevent the disease. They don't go there. They don't have to be like that, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to have heart disease,
True.
right? We can prevent it. Yeah.
So what you're also saying is when you were going through that, this was more a very subconscious thing that you wanted to do, but then now reflecting back, there's connecting the dots, and there's got a bigger
picture,
right?
Yeah. I guess they said when the universe wants it for you, it just all falls in place, and I think that's happened for me, and I feel that I might just only be starting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how good I feel about being in this space right now.
And it's a great advice. If I have to draw, I mean, nobody gave me this advice when I was pregnant. So you had to deal with everything, and I didn't want to lose I wanted to be back at work. And so I had to figure out support systems and all that stuff. But if this is a great advice for anybody going through this in terms of stay connected, figure out new things of interest, it'll all come together. It'll come together in some formative way at a later stage.
And don't live in the instant gratification mode. Yes. Because there are richer gains by just being a little bit more patient.
Yeah.
Much more richer.
How lovely. Yes. And running. What is running? So I cycle. I don't run. I don't know. For some reason, I don't enjoy running. I'd love to run. I mean, back in school, I was a good athlete and all that stuff. But I don't quite enjoy running. But I cycle a lot. And I walk a lot. I love walking.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I sometimes listen to music. I sometimes don't. But that's my me time in terms of really
it is your me time.
thinking.
Right, yeah.
But you did the ultras, and this is like a different ball game. This is like
I don't know. I think I can cycle, but I'm afraid to cycle.
because of the roads and the traffic.
I think so. Yeah. I want to preserve my body. So I'm afraid to cycle, but it's the same thing. I think the premise is the same.
Yeah.
If you were doing 50 kilometers on a cycle, you would tell yourself, I'll do 100, and then you would go for those brevets where you would want to do 200, and so on. And so human beings are greedy that way. You just can't push yourself little by little. And I think it was just happened so naturally. And then there was this wonderful running community in Bangalore
The Bhukamp.
Bhukamp is one group, Runners for Life had put up a lot of races they would set up. So we would just be very excited, and we were meeting these interesting people, and yet we were like, pushing our boundaries. So 10K would lead to 21K, and then 42, and then you reach 42, and then like, do you think I can do more? Do you think I can do more? It's just that. Like I said, human body is very, very resilient. So I think I pushed myself. If I did 50, can I do 60, and then I do 70? And then you keep making more goals for yourself. So another goal of mine was to run on all 7 continents. Yeah. So I went and finished that goal also. So, and it was
all
amazing.
7.
All 7.
Wow.
Including Antarctica. I know everybody asked me that.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So it's just tiny little goals, but it's also been a very wonderful, adventurous.
That's not a tiny goal.
Yeah, I know it's not a tiny goal. It's a big goal, money-wise also. But yeah, but that it's makes your life very adventurous as well. Yeah. And we meet wonderful people. You're seeing the world. You're seeing different cultures. So it's just very enriching. So a runner's life has really enriched me, and I've made wonderful friends. We have common friend,
and that's how we met. Yes.
So yeah, it like they say, it's another dimension that gives to you. You're not just a professional and another person, mother or whatever.
Yes.
You're another something
human
being, right?
Yeah. It's about yourself, isn't it?
It's also
not about.
And running is also very meditative to me. Yeah. Very meditative.
Yeah.
So that's why I do that, as long as I can, of
So
course.
did you start running way back, or was it just a
No.
couple of years?
So
or?
no, I was not an athlete. I only would go to, let's say, do some fitness in the form of gymming or aerobics and stuff like that after my kids were born, because I wanted to get back into shape as early as possible. That was another agenda I had on my mind, that I'm not going to keep it away for too long so that it becomes a struggle. So after my kids were born, I very quickly got myself into shape, and then somebody just told me, why don't you do the 10K? Bangalore is known for its Sun Feast or
yeah.
TCS 10K. There it is. That's how it all started.
Yeah.
So I started running, and I think maybe my basic fitness level was good enough for me to take longer distances, and I often found myself on podiums, so which was like a very, very inspiring to me and motivating as well. It's some kind of a reward. But so like when I pushed myself, I did my first 42K at the age of 42.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's no such thing that you do it young, you can do it anytime. It's just how when you put your mind to it.
True.
So yeah.
So then, when did this 7-continent wish come?
So I finished in 2019, just before the pandemic hit.
Oh,
so
wow.
I started in 2010 and then finished in 2019. 9 years.
9 years. So it's almost like every year.
So it was not like that to begin with. We would just go for vacations and pick up a marathon and run. My husband's a runner too.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we would take family vacations and all of us would go together. The kids would stay back in the hotel and both of us would run and come back. And that's how it happened. And soon we saw that we covered like 4 or 5 continents, and I said, hey,
why don't we just...
So my husband hasn't done 7, but I said, okay, why don't I just go and finish the 7? So, which was an interesting, very, very, very interesting journey, because it takes you to places that you wouldn't go, right?
Yeah. How was running in Antarctica?
It was very difficult because you're running on ice, and there wasn't even ice. That day was a storm. We were hit by a blizzard. So it was running on snow, and then, like sinking in and coming out and sinking in and coming out.
And you did a full marathon there.
42.2.
Wow.
But that's what humans are like. We're planning to go to Mars here, just like running on Antarctica. But it's a wonderful company who runs this marathons on Union Glacier on Antarctica. Very, very well organized. And then we met a whole bunch of wonderful runners there from different countries, but it was tough because I'd never run in snow and ice living in Bangalore, so there was no precedent. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't even training to run on a colder surface. But I think it's just the mind. That's why mind is very, very powerful. You just put one step ahead of the other, and you knew you're gonna get there. Yeah. But I got a podium there too, and I think that was the only time I felt very good about the fact it was a small race, but India's flag was a number 3 because it was a
cool.
number 3. Yeah, it was nice. So things happened, serendipity, like you call it, by chance. Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, you're the true learner, right? You're discovering a lot about yourself. And you're sort of, in some ways, I think, for me at least, when I cycle, it's not about, I have to meet this time, the timing or something like that. It's about your own self.
Yeah, it's yourself.
You're constantly trying to improve yourself.
Yeah.
And you're constantly trying to see how much more
can I do. Right.
And then your mind also, it just wanders initially. And then you're
in a zone.
Yeah, right?
Does
that happen?
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. It wanders, you make all the plans. First you make plans for the day, then you make plans for the week, and then for the future and all of that. And then there's a zone.
Yeah.
Where you blank, right? And I think that's the meditative zone. Yeah. And that's what people like.
Yeah.
That's we call it and then when you finish it, it's the runner's high.
Yeah. So do you so for me, when I used to do these 120, 150 kilometer cycling, and the first 30, 40 is an easy breeze. But then
It's a struggle, right?
it's like,
Yeah, you need to
the
dig
sun
deep.
hits, the roads are bad, there's too
Yeah.
much noise, the traffic.
Yeah.
You find 15 other reasons for, like, what the hell were you thinking?
Correct, correct.
But then you start coming back.
Together, no?
And that's the whole mind bit. That's the whole training your mind and training yourself. What's the journey you've gone through? Because you started with, like, no running to 5K, 10K,
Yeah.
to, like, running a full marathon and then ultras and then podiums.
Yeah.
Like,
Podiums are by chance, you know. I always say it by chance because not that I strive for it.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
you find yourself.
Yeah.
So I don't give too much of importance to that. I
But
think it's a
I mean,
journey.
yeah.
It's motivating.
Yeah.
Yes, it's. I mean, you push yourself a little bit more because of that. But when I think 21 is actually pretty taxing because you're really going fast and you're after the number, right? I want to finish under. Full marathons also are hard, but I've of late found that ultras are very meditative because there's no time that you set for yourself. You're just going with the journey. You know what you're feeling, going up the hill, down the hill. Some thought process. Sometimes it's beautiful trails, so there's nature. And then there are other runners. You're stopping. You're having your little jaggery sweet, you know. So it's like more like enjoying the journey. Yeah. So I think ultras were very, very cathartic, if I may call it. I loved them. In fact, one of my really wonderful races was in South Africa called the Comrades, which is 90 kilometers. This was from Durban to Pietermaritzburg, and I think I got a second wind when I was at 60K. It was just like, I was flying.
Oh,
literally.
really?
Literally. Because there was some kind of a high. And there's runners, there's camaraderie, there are, onlookers who are cheering you and egging you on. So I think ultras somewhere I've learned to enjoy them much more because it's not this pace, the speed is what you go through the whole journey, and you have to reach from one point to another, but you enjoy it. But for half and fulls, there's a little number that keeps annoying you, like you have to do a sub 2 or you have to do below a certain hour. But yeah, it's nice that way. You just kind of discover yourself on ultras, I feel.
Did you bring your husband into running, or did
Yes,
he
I did.
inspire?
I'm very proud of that. I did bring him into running. Yes, yeah. He would, because I told you he had this very slender physique and very unlike the Punjabi physique. So he wouldn't do anything because he wasn't fat, right? So what's the point of working out? So when I took to running, I think in about a year's time, he saw how much I was enjoying and tried his hands or feet at it, and then was happy doing it. And I think we've grown so well together on this because of our various runs and the vacations that we would took and did that. It was more like a very bonding sport.
Yeah.
And I always say to a lot of runners that if your spouse can join you in running, that's it.
Yeah.
You're done. I mean, you think that you've achieved that. Yeah.
So,
Because
sorry. Go ahead.
no. I feel that because you kind of support each other and motivate each other, and you're really like an accountability partner, right?
Yeah.
You're training for something and you say, okay, we have to do this. Let's finish this. So it's it's fantastic to have two people in the family do it.
Yeah. So both of us in our house, I mean, he's a runner. He runs. He enjoys running, but I enjoy walking and cycling. And like you, my dad had diabetes, so I'm like very conscious of
That right?
sugar and a whole lot of things. But I do have my vices as well, which are things I struggle with. But I think when my kid was born, I moved from 50 kgs to some 82 kgs.
Me
And
too,
I was
me
like,
too.
right, it was like, and then the baby was like
It's
underweight.
tiny bits, right?
And the husband was like, where did all the food go?
It was like a panda's baby. The panda is so big and the baby is so small. Yeah, happened to me too. Yes.
And then I decided, okay,
Yeah.
so I had Prakash Kini. So I
Yeah.
called him and I said, look, I tried to enroll in the gym. And they said, till 3 months, I had a C-section. So they said, till that is over, you can't really do anything. So he said, don't go to the gym, start walking.
Okay,
I said,
correct.
okay. So I would feed the
Your
kid
little
and
one,
then I would start walking. And whenever I'm too tired or I get a call from home that she's rolling around or she's
Yeah.
going to get up,
You-
I'd take a auto and come back home.
Nice.
And that's how I started
There you go.
walking, right?
Right.
And that was very therapeutic as well, because considering you're going through so much at home with a new baby and all that
Totally.
changes,
Totally.
this me time really helps you think,
Yeah.
really helps you calm yourself.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. You know that lot of emotions that you can work on, and you're spending time with yourself.
Yeah.
So you work on yourself and you
Yeah.
go back home nice, happy, and give much more than
Yeah.
you could have given when you were just sitting crankily, not being able to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's a wonderful thing that you did, and everybody should find time for themselves.
Yeah.
Me time,
Me
very
time,
important.
yeah. When you're
Yeah.
happy, you keep the rest of them around you happy.
Yeah,
isn't
correct,
it?
correct. I shouldn't say it should be only for women, but women play a very big role. They should keep themselves happy.
Yeah.
They should learn to love themselves, and then they will be able to do justice to the rest of the family and keep the rest of the family happy too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And do your kids run as a result of just seeing both?
No, they don't run. My daughter does shorter distances,
Okay.
100, 400 meters. My son is not into running, but he likes to play football. Yeah, but I've never pushed them.
Hmm.
Yeah, I said, if you have it in you, you'll find it.
Yeah.
If I push you, you'll just get totally anti
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So whatever, what's your calling is gonna come to you.
Yeah, but I think for what I've noticed, I agree with you first of all with that. Like, you shouldn't push them just because you like running, come
Yeah.
run with me. But what I've also noticed is when you're both into a certain
Sport.
discipline of sorts,
Yeah.
right? And you're taking care of yourself and you're prioritizing that, the kids see it.
Of course. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
they sort of pick up some of that.
Yeah.
It may not be running, but they pick up something.
Yeah, my daughter's very wary of what she puts in her body.
Mm.
So she's 19 now, so she's very conscious about her food choices. She drinks a green juice every day,
Oh,
which
wow.
is made up of which is made of vegetables and all of that. So, well, because she sees me do it, and I think it's not that I've pushed her, but she's imbibed. There were times when she was only mac and cheese child, but I think over a period of time, she constantly heard me what how you could improve this, how you could improve that. And so she does that. My son's also very wary. They're both into fitness. They both love to go to gym. Yeah. So my son's 21 now, and he cooks his own meals. So I guess somewhere down the line, it just they imbibe. They soak it all. Yeah. When they see parents, because like I say, we are their role models. We are their role models.
So I want to also extend this conversation towards your other avatar,
Okay.
which is you're consulting for a whole lot of healthcare companies as well.
Yeah.
I feel and this is probably me just sitting on the other side, just hearing the whole conversation on how these things sort of panned out, with first just doing the minimal stuff that can sustain yourself through the delivery in the early years, then learning new skills, then sort of building on yourself and your health and your lifestyle, to then be able to balance another hat for yourself. But that's a lot, isn't it, Gurmeet? That's a lot. And first of all, how did you get into this bit of healthcare consulting? And then how are you then managing all of this?
Yeah, so I guess because I don't kind of fully immerse hours into physical consulting. I have time for doing this healthcare consulting. Essentially, it is again helping people finding where they are off in their, whether it is their um, minerals, vitamins, and like deficiency profiling, or if it is their cholesterol profiling, or those kind of things. So we help people get over that. So when I say consulting, I look over their numbers, and then we formulate nutritional plans, and we give them tips about how to cook, and how to introduce certain foods which are, let's say, cholesterol lowering, or what is going to be good for what workout is going to be good for your cardio workout, things like that. So we're making these modules and I'm working with a really bunch of very dynamic IT kids who, I wouldn't call them kids, but youngsters, and they're doing a good job. So I liked what they're doing. So I told them that I would love to be a part of this. So we're kind of expanding into various compartments where whether you have a diabetes or cholesterol, we identify people and give them support, give them help, and empower them how to take care of that. So that's the beginning, and I think that's how we want to go deeper into the population, to sensitize them how they can take care of themselves. So how I manage this is my morning hours are me hours, which is like before 8 o'clock. I think I wouldn't want to do anything for anyone.
Are you an early riser?
Not very, but about 5:30 or so.
Oh,
so I have to get the workout, yoga, whatever I have to do in before 8. And after 8 is my a little bit of a reading time, because I also want to educate myself on a regular basis. And then we have work, and when you finish work, and then you have more time, which is, like I said, I don't work after 5. And then so then I can do a bit more work. It's all about time management, I guess. Yeah.
So I think what I also see is you figured this because you had role models, you had someone in your family doing it, or you just figured this gradually, just knowing how you are, or it's a combination of both?
I wish I had a role model. I'm looking for a role model though. Yeah. Because it becomes easier, right? When you can emulate, and then you can go for, a little heart-to-heart chat and figuring things out. But I felt that I had to figure a lot of things myself. And I'm also someone who wants more, even though I say you're enough, but I always want to do more, because I can, so why shouldn't I, right? And as long as it's not affecting my upper story, I would want to push myself a little bit more. I like to push the envelope a little bit more. So this is what I figured it out all on my own, that this is how I want to be. It's hard. It's not been easy figuring it out, but it's a process. It's a journey, and no regrets at all.
Yeah. Just one question. So what's been the best investment you've made on yourself? I'm not talking about materialistic ones.
No, I'm
but
just wondering, what's the best investment? Medicine, maybe? Getting into profession. And I didn't want to be a doctor. My dad wanted me to be a doctor, and I got the peer pressure, got swayed by that. Oh my God, we're going to be studying so hard. And you know how doctors really, really have to struggle for about 10, 12 years before they actually make it, while all the IT or the computer science guys were making it quickly within 4 or 5 years. I don't want to waste I used to say my golden years of my life. I don't want to waste that golden years of my life. And my dad didn't give me an option. He said, if you don't want to do it, then you might as well get married and settle down. And that was it. And I said, okay, I will do medicine. And I think in hindsight, that was a good decision, because that took me to Manipal, that showed me a whole bunch of things, not only from the worldly wise perspective, but it showed me how things are done beyond. It was not my comfort zone.
Yeah, because
I moved
you came from
north,
Jammu.
and and so helped me mature as a person, and that was the changing, also a very, very tentative point of somebody's life. So so I think that was it, because that's when I learned to learn. I started learning things from people who were around me. I started appreciating people. I started seeing how far they go. I mean, I did have wonderful seniors who were doing so well for themselves. So I think it just opened my vistas. Yeah, so I think I would say that was my best. Would have been if that is the best investment.
Yeah.
But I like to invest in myself pretty often. I mean, I keep doing courses, and I keep doing little bit, whether it's fellowship, whether it's gut health. So I like to do that.
And what's been your favorite failure?
Favorite failure? Whoa.
Yeah, I'm consciously using the words there.
Okay. Oh. I'm wondering, what did I fail at? Maybe, I think I'm still work in progress. I don't think I've failed, but maybe I haven't given enough time. Golf is what I've failed at yet. Yeah, because that's what I was trying to do, and I've not been able to give enough maybe time or energy. Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't say anything. Oh no, I would. What's been my favorite failure? Oh yeah, I started a medical tech company in 2016 because I believed that Internet of Things was going to be the new thing, and also I felt the pain points of people who lived in B cities and C cities, like somebody who has fits, a child who has a fits can't find a pediatric neurologist in a small town. So I had set up online consults, medical consultation company, where you could call from anywhere in India, and but that's been my favorite failure, because the patients were not very receptive, because we were still not corona hit, so they wanted touch and feel, so it didn't take off, and even medical professionals were very hesitant. They would rather that the patient walked into their office and did that. So I shut it off in August or September of 2019, and we were hit in 2020 Feb.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite failure, I would say.
And you were ready for that?
I was ready then. I was before my time. Yeah.
What a lovely conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
It's
I
been
hope
an
you
honor.
enjoyed this.
I did.
One
Thank
word
you.
about this conversation. What is your word that describes this conversation?
Well, I think it was. It also was self-discovering. No, it's very intuitive. Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I love the flow of it, and I love the way you brought out a lot of me, which I haven't thought in so many years.
Oh, how kind.
Actually,
How kind.
Yeah. I mean, you literally steered all my life, all aspects of it, which has been very. I should thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.